Okay, so let's kick things off with a massive question. Where does exceptional success really come from? Is it just about raw talent and putting in the hours? Well, today we're going to dig into Malcolm Gladwell's incredible book, Outliers, to challenge that whole idea.
I mean, think about it. When you hear about these titans of industry, or rock stars, or total geniuses, what's the story we tell ourselves about how they got there?
Right, the story is always about the lone genius, the self-made hero who just, succeeded through pure grit and brilliance. It's a great story, but what if it's not really the full picture? And this is the big, myth-busting argument at the very heart of Outliers. It says that if you really want to understand success, you have to look beyond the person. You have to look at their environment, their culture, and their specific moment in history. So let's start with the first piece of this puzzle, opportunity. Okay, the power of opportunity. What's so fascinating here is that extraordinary success, it almost never starts with some big, dramatic bang. Nope. It usually begins with a really subtle, hidden advantage, some lucky break that ends up changing absolutely everything. There's actually a name for this phenomenon, the Matthew effect. It's this idea of cumulative advantage. You can think of it like this. Those who start out with a little bit of an edge get more opportunities, which gives them an even bigger edge. It's like a snowball of advantage, just getting bigger and bigger as it rolls downhill. And check this out. Here is the perfect real-world example of the Matthew effect, Canadian hockey. It's wild, but a massive number of pro players are born in January, February, or March. So why is that? Well, the age cutoff for the youth leagues is January 1st. That means a kid born in January is almost a full year older and bigger and stronger than a kid born in late December in the same league. So who gets noticed by the coaches? The January kid. He gets picked for the elite team, he gets the better coaching, he gets way more ice time, and that totally arbitrary advantage just snowballs year after year until he's a pro. So, okay, opportunity is what gets you in the door, but you still got to put in the work, right? And this is where Gladwell introduces that famous magic number for becoming a true world-class expert at something, 10,000 hours. But here's the real kicker. Who on earth actually gets the chance to put in those 10,000 hours? Think about it. Bill Gates wasn't just smart and hardworking. He had this incredibly rare, almost unlimited access to a university computer terminal back in the 1960s. Almost nobody else his age had that. Or what about the Beatles? Before they were, well, the Beatles, they had this gig in Hamburg, Germany, where they had to play for 8 hours a night, 7 nights a week. They were basically forced to get their 10,000 hours in. You see, the point is that hard work by itself is not enough. The 10,000-hour rule is really a story about extraordinary opportunity. You need to be given the chance to work that hard in the first place. All right, so opportunity is a huge deal. We get that. But what about just pure, raw talent? I mean, surely being a genius gives you a massive leg up, right? Well, maybe not as much as you'd think. The connection between high IQ and real-world success is, surprisingly, not that strong. It turns out that IQ really only matters up to a certain point. It's kind of like being tall in basketball. Yeah, you have to be tall enough to play. But being 7 feet tall doesn't automatically make you a better player than someone who's 6'8". The same thing is true for IQ. Once you get over a threshold of about 120, which is basically smart enough, having an even higher IQ doesn't really guarantee you're going to be more successful in life. So that's the big question, right? If a genius-level IQ isn't the secret ingredient, what is? What's the thing that separates the brilliant people who make it big from the brilliant people who, well, don't? Well, the answer seems to be something called practical intelligence. This isn't your book smarts, it's your street smarts. It's knowing how to read a situation, knowing what to say to who, and how to say it to get what you want. And here's the most important part. Practical intelligence is not something you're born with. It's a skill. It's something you learn from your family, from your upbringing, from your culture. And that idea, the idea that our environment literally teaches us the rules for success, brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful piece of this whole puzzle, our cultural legacy. These are the invisible scripts handed down through generations that shape how we act today. Let me give you an incredible example. Look at the difference between traditional wheat farming and traditional rice farming. A wheat farm has these intense bursts of work during planting and harvest. But a traditional Asian rice paddy, that requires meticulous, painstaking, year-round work. The theory is that this history created a cultural legacy that deeply values persistence and diligence. a work ethic that, as it turns out, is absolutely perfect for mastering something as complex as mathematics. And you see this pattern everywhere. A culture of honor, which is thought to be inherited from shepherding ancestors who had to be tough to protect their herds, helps explain historical feuds in places like Appalachia. Or in aviation, a cultural legacy of high power distance, which means a huge deference to authority, was actually found to be a key factor in some airline crashes because co-pilots were literally too intimidated to speak up and challenge their captains. It shows our history is written into our modern behavior. So we've gone through opportunity, intelligence, and legacy. What's the big picture here? When you put it all together, what is the real story of success? The ultimate takeaway is that the whole idea of the self-made person, it's mostly a myth. The people who achieve incredible things are almost always the beneficiaries of hidden advantages, amazing opportunities, and powerful cultural legacies that give them the specific tools they need to succeed. To put it really simply, success is a group project. It's a gift. It's a product of the world a person grows up in, not just the special qualities they have inside them. And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question to chew on. If we accept that success depends this much on opportunity and legacy, well, that changes everything. It means we can't just stand back and applaud the successful people. We have to look at the systems and the cultures that create them in the first place. And that forces us to ask, how can we build a world that gives more people the chance to become an outlier?